The fall of Damascus to rebel forces marks a critical turning point in Syria's civil war. The coalition leading this effort includes Hay'at Tahrir al-Sham or HTS, an Islamist group, and factions from the Turkish-backed Syrian National Army. These groups launched a rapid offensive in late November 2024, swiftly capturing Aleppo and other key areas before reaching the capital. HTS, though controversial due to its extremist roots, has expressed openness to negotiations, while Turkey's indirect support suggests broader geopolitical implications. The rapid collapse of the Assad regime is attributed to a weakened Syrian military. As rebel forces took control of Damascus, President Bashar al-Assad fled to Moscow with his family, seeking asylum provided by Russia. This ends nearly 5 decades of Assad family rule over Syria. Russia's decision to shelter Assad underscores its strategic interests in Syria, particularly its naval base in Tartus and its broader influence in the region. While Moscow has maintained a presence in Syria throughout the war, analysts suggest it may negotiate with the new rebel leadership to preserve its foothold. Amid the chaos, Israel and the United States launched airstrikes in Syria. Israel targeted locations near the Golan Heights, citing security concerns and a need to counter potential threats from Hezbollah and Iranian-backed forces. Meanwhile, the United States conducted strikes in eastern Syria, aiming to prevent a resurgence of ISIS amid the chaotic transition. Both countries have underscored their intent to safeguard their interests and maintain stability in the region as the situation remains fluid. The rebels' victory and Assad's departure leave Syria at a crossroads. Neighboring countries, including Lebanon and Jordan, have closed their borders to prevent spillover, while humanitarian organizations warn of worsening conditions for millions of displaced Syrians. Russia emerged as a significant power broker in the Middle East by supporting the Assad regime. It secured long-term access to the Tartus naval base and expanded its military footprint with the Hamimim air base. Moscow's asylum for Assad highlights its strategic positioning, allowing it to negotiate with the new rebel rulers and maintain influence in Syria's future political framework. Turkey leveraged the conflict to counter Kurdish ambitions for autonomy near its border and expanded its influence through support for Syrian rebel factions. Its backing of the Syrian National Army provided a means to shape post-war governance, and the collapse of Assad potentially strengthens its role in regional geopolitics. As Assad's key ally, Iran extended its regional influence through proxies and secured a land corridor to Hezbollah in Lebanon. However, the collapse of the Assad regime challenges its position, creating uncertainty about its investments in the conflict. Israel capitalized on the war's chaos to target Iranian assets and Hezbollah positions in Syria, limiting threats near its borders. However, the rise of new factions in Damascus presents fresh challenges, requiring vigilance and adaptability. The biggest loser, Syria suffered extensive human and infrastructural losses. Millions were displaced, cities destroyed, and the economy devastated. The civil war's aftermath leaves a fragmented state with uncertain governance. While the US maintained a military presence to combat ISIS, it failed to significantly shape Syria's trajectory, leading to diminished influence compared to Russia and Turkey. The chaotic conclusion of the Assad regime complicates its goals of stability and counterterrorism. Although initially gaining, Iran's investments in Assad's survival are now at risk. The loss of Damascus to rebels jeopardizes its corridor to Lebanon and diminishes its long-term strategic returns. The EU faced waves of refugees and terrorism threats exacerbated by the conflict. Despite funding humanitarian aid, it struggled to assert influence in the peace process or mitigate the war's destabilizing effects on neighboring regions. Focused on weakening Hezbollah and Iranian forces, Israel intensified operations near the Golan Heights. These strikes aim to prevent Iran from exploiting the power vacuum left by Assad's fall and to secure its northern borders. The US targeted areas in eastern Syria to prevent a resurgence of ISIS, prioritizing counterterrorism amid the disorder. American officials have expressed concern about the war's impact on global stability, underscoring a commitment to containing extremism and stabilizing refugee flows.